Welcome to the Deep Impact Investing Podcast with Kimberly Griego-Kiel on behalf of Horizon Sustainable Financial Services. In this podcast, I discuss sustainable impact investing, how to create portfolios that match your values, and a variety of other topics such as financial education, environmental sustainability, social justice, and sustainable food systems. Do you want to know if your investments seek the kind of accountability from corporations that you demand? Listen in as I explore the burning question, are you investing like you give a damn?
Hello and welcome to Deep Impact Investing with Kimberly Griego-Kiel from Horizon Sustainable Financial Services. Kim, how are you today?
I'm good. I've got some fun things for you today.
All right.
And I should say fun in quotes because some of it is super fun and other parts are like, whoa, I don't know what to think about that. So,
all right. Well, now
yeah.
you've definitely piqued my interest.
I know. And usually I send you show notes, but I didn't this time because I wanted to hear your reaction to some of these things for the first time. So
oh boy, here we
you
go.
can keep up with me.
I
was
should have put
thinking,
a seatbelt on this thing.
You should grab your seatbelt, buckle in. I'm calling this Coffee with Kim, coffee with a K, right? I used to do that for my clients.
All right.
And once a quarter meet for coffee, and I called it Coffee with Kim.
That's awesome.
So, we are going to talk about 23 more or less interesting and fun facts about finance.
Okay, 23 and me and Kim.
Yes, right. I mean, it's more or less because I've grouped some things together and I probably easily could have come up with a list of 100 things. All right, grab your coffee.
Got it. Energy drink, okay?
Yes, and whatever works for you. Your tea, your water, or glass of wine if you're listening to this in the evening.
All right. Yes. Yeah. Please no energy drinks in the evening.
Yeah, you'll be up all night. All right, so we're going to start with some market-based fun facts.
Okay.
Did you know that Wall Street itself dates back to the 1600s?
No, I would have guessed 1800s, but not 1600s.
No, 400 years of
Wow.
stock market.
Okay.
So the New York Stock Exchange was called the New Amsterdam Stock Exchange because New York was New Amsterdam, right? And this was back before there were all the ring the bells and all the exchanges and things. But it just literally was it was a passageway along a wooden wall in New Amsterdam, or what's New York today. And they were protecting the financial area of the folks who had immigrated from the Dutch areas of Europe. They were basically walking this wooden wall, and they called it Wall Street. They were keeping that. They were keeping out the potential invaders, shall we say?
The riffraffs.
Right, the riffraffs. So I thought that was yeah, and this New Amsterdam, or I guess I should just say Amsterdam Stock Exchange, which is part of Europe now, the Euronet exchanges, first listed stocks in 1602.
How in the world would you trade stocks at that point?
I would assume it was literally a paper exchange.
Well, it had to be, but
yes. And I mean, that's the only way to do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was and that first stock was the Dutch East Indian Trading Company.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. If you if you remember any of your history, that would definitely make sense. Yeah,
I do remember that name though.
So this company, the Dutch Trading Company, lasted for a couple centuries, right? And this I thought was interesting. During the entire time it was in existence, for shareholders, it paid an 18% dividend almost every year.
Wow.
Right?
Where are they now?
They're gone.
Come on back. Yeah, come on back. 18%, we'll take it.
Right.
Jeez.
Right. So more information about the stock market. The global bond market is valued at $100 trillion.
Currently.
Yes,
Wow.
yes, currently.
Okay.
And interestingly enough, it's about 10% less. Well, it's 10% more, 10-ish percent more than the global stock exchange. So the bond market is bigger than the stock
Hmm.
markets. And I don't think people realize that. It's complicated to be involved in the bond market. You have to really know a lot of
Yeah.
things. And I found this quote from James Carville. You know who he is, right?
I've heard the name.
Yeah, he's kind of a political commentator, and he talks a lot about markets and stuff. And he said, quote, "I used to think if there was a reincarnation, I wanted to come back as the president or the pope or a 4.400 baseball hitter. But now I want to come back as the bond market. You can intimidate everybody."
Okay. Very interesting thing to come back as. Good luck with that.
Right. I know, but the bond market's super intimidating.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not numbering these because I have so many different things. So we may go over 23, but
Ah,
don't count. Don't count.
all right.
Historically speaking, when we talk about stocks, it's it's interesting because the markets have given at least an 8% return over time.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked and looked to try to see if that number was too high.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw higher average returns, average return numbers than 8. So a lot of people took their data and said it was more like 10% a year. And I thought, that's crazy.
Mm.
But this is the historical data numbers. And I just want to mention, when we are talking about things like this, some of it can really come back to how data is interpreted.
Yeah.
But when you see enough data interpreted as 8 to 10% average returns, that's probably the case.
Yeah.
We're not going to get that all the time, but that just sounds great. And then the U.S. accounts for 40% of the world's stock markets. 40%. It's pretty big.
Do you have the number on how much we count as far as the bond market?
I don't. I'm
Just
going to write
curious.
that down.
Well, because, and the reason I ask is because bonds, you and I have talked about this
yeah,
many times. You've had guests that have talked about this. Bonds are very tricky things, in my opinion. And again, like you said, it can be intimidating. And bonds don't always, aren't always guaranteed. And so looking at the worldwide bond market, you could probably get into some pretty sketchy bonds in places of the world, right? And so I'm just like, I'm just curious about.
Yeah, I wrote that down. I'm going to see if
right.
I can find that. Yeah. And, of course, as I mentioned, 1602 was the first stock that was traded anywhere. And trading stocks is the most common and oldest form of investment.
40%, man, that's huge.
Yeah. Yeah. That's just U.S. stock markets.
Yeah.
I mean, of the overall percentage. So, yeah, interesting. A couple other market related fun facts. And when I say facts, I'm going to put it in quotes a little bit because, again, some of these things are a little hard to 100% verify, but I found multiple mentions of a lot of the things I'm going to say. So the value of savings deposits right now in the U.S., so we're February 2023, almost February. All depository institutions went from, right now it's 10.63 trillion in savings.
Okay, so savings accounts at banks.
Savings accounts, right. Savings deposits. So that went up from the 2000. So this is 22 years, right? 22 years. It was only 1.8 trillion.
Okay.
And so it's now 10.6. So we're saving more money. We're putting it in savings, right, which is great, but it's, taking us 20 years to kind of get there. Personal budget statistics show that personal deposits, however, savings deposits have declined over the last 12 months. And that, I would say, is really related only to inflation for the most part.
Last 12 months, absolutely.
Yeah, inflation's been crazy. So, here is the one stock that I'm going to give another. Well, I guess I did the original stock information, but here's something that will kind of blow your mind. If you invested $100 in Microsoft in 1986, it came out, that $100 would be worth $45,000 today.
Mm-hmm. I thought it was more than that, actually.
Well, that's just $100.
It's just $100. Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
yeah.
yeah. I
It's,
think I've heard a different version of that. But here's the thing, Kim. You know that I grew up in Washington State, and
right.
in 1986, I probably was just starting my paper route.
Yeah.
And Microsoft was there, and I remember seeing different things in the paper throughout the years. You know, living just south of Seattle, and Microsoft being a huge influence up there. I remember seeing, well, if you had done $1,000, I think it was $1,000 at this point,
Right.
with all the splits and everything else, it was an incredible amount of money. And I just
Yes.
keep going back to that 12,
several
13,
$100,000.
Yeah. And I just want to shake him and like, look, you bought donuts for crying out loud. And
right. I mean,
baseball cards.
I graduated from high school that year.
Yeah. There you
So
go.
I'm a couple years older than you. But yeah, I was, what was I doing with $100?
Yeah.
Like we won't
turning it into
there.
45 grand.
No. That is so true. So I'm going to shift a little because I think that's funny to talk about more finance related, although it all relates to the markets too. But I guess I lied. I'm sorry. I'm talking about Google. Google investments, if you gathered them all together, are worth more than the GDP of several countries.
Yeah.
Smaller countries, Vietnam, Iraq.
Still.
But yeah, it's crazy. And here is something else that I looked up because I saw a news article this morning that the Goldman Sachs cut their CEO pay in 2022 by 30%. We really want to see reduced CEO pay. That's a big deal in our industry. But get this, his cut salary, his reduction was still $25 million.
His reduced salary was 25, so he still has a salary of 25 million.
Yes. It was 35 million. And in 2020, it was half of that 25. So it's like 12 million, 3 million, 13 million in 2020. So it tripled, and then now it's back down to 20. I don't know. I don't know how poor David Solomon is going to survive on only $25 million.
Thoughts and prayers, everybody. Thoughts and prayers.
Thoughts and prayers.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So Goldman Sachs itself also has more GDP than Vietnam.
Well,
they picked that country to notify. Yeah. I was like,
I'm all for bonuses. Okay. I'm all for bonuses. You take a company through the pandemic, right? And through 2020, through 2021, there should be some kind of bonus for you. I don't know if it should be turning into a triple salary to where you're at 30 million. I mean, that's a bit excessive, but doggone it. Well done, sir. Pat on the back, big bonus check, and an extra boat. I don't know, but it shouldn't be, that much.
CEO pay should not be that high, because when you think about it, what the lowest paid worker at Goldman Sachs would be, or any institution, it's staggeringly high to look at this CEO pay.
And we won't look at the pay for people that are running certain charities. Because
there's a problem there too, right? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's why you look at, Okay, moving on. January 1st of 1791.
Oh, I remember that. It was a good year.
It was a very good year.
Very good year.
It was good because the national debt was only $75 million. The U.S. national debt.
In 1791?
Yeah.
The U.S. debt was $75 million.
Right.
Is that today's dollars, or is that like...
Yeah, that would be in today's dollars. And so...
Oh, really? Okay. So it was like, $12.50 back then.
Yeah, probably. Okay. I mean, it's pretty minimal, but today, you have any wild guesses on what the U.S. debt is?
Well, according to U.S. Debt Clock, which I'm not looking at currently, but I do, frequent every once in a while, it's around 31 trillion, if I'm not mistaken.
I saw that the United States government currently in 2021 was $28 trillion.
Oh, 28. Oh, that's better than it was.
Yeah. Yeah, that's 2021. So we're, 2 years later.
Oh, that's you're doing 2021. Well,
Yeah,
I'm going to take a look right now.
Yeah,
Hey,
because
ready?
Go ahead.
31.5 trillion.
Yes, the
good
Congressional
news,
Research Service, usdebtclock.org.
Yeah,
31.5.
31.5.
That page, that web page of usdebtclock.org is a little overwhelming because all those numbers are just flashing and changing constantly.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. I looked at it and I'm like, ooh, I got to close this window because that's going to drive me crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when we talk about US debt, the first debt ceiling was established in 1917. Just to confuse you, because we had those same digits in a different order.
Yeah, 1791, 1917. Got it.
Right. And that debt ceiling was set at 11.5 billion.
Wow.
Back in 1917. And look at where we are now. It's grown more than 11 times. Or actually, I should repeat that. The government's debt ceiling has been raised 11 times since the beginning of since the beginning of 2001.
It's been raised 11 times since 2001?
Yes. And 76 times since March of 1962, which is a 60-year time span that we're talking about. 1962 to current, 76 times. That's more than once a year that the U.S. has raised the debt ceiling.
If they keep printing money, Kim, I'm just saying there should be some sort of group that gets together and says, look, if you're going to keep printing money the way you're doing it, we need to change all the faces from on the money to like clowns, because that's kind of where we're at, right? Like we could get Bozo on there. We could get Laurel and Hardy Cash would be kind of fun. And that might be more indicative of what's going on if they keep just printing money. Wow, let's just raise the debt ceiling and we just print more if we need it.
Right. I'm going to tell you something else that's going to blow your mind, because I'm kind of going out of order, but it's totally fine because this is funny. It's funny, but it's not funny.
Yeah.
The Federal Reserve does not know where 2/3 of the $100 bills that have been printed are.
What?
They don't know where they are.
How? How's that? How do they not know? Like they're just
sitting in cash somewhere from, I don't know.
Well, I've seen some pictures of some cartel rooms,
right?
In
literally
in Mexico,
with stacks of money,
literally
right?
with bricks. I mean, the walls are made of cash. So
yeah.
There's a clue. Just take a look.
Right? It's crazy. Absolutely insane. So yeah. And then here's the other thing. Oh, there's multiple things here, but do you know how much it costs to make a penny?
Probably more than a penny.
2.1 cents.
Oh God. This is not going well.
Right. Like there's something wrong with that picture. It also costs more to produce a nickel than a nickel's worth. I think it was like 8 cents or something to make a nickel. I don't remember off the top of my head. But yeah.
Remember those plastic coins when you taught your kids how to count money? Yes. I think we're going that direction.
Right.
No, that's plastic.
Pretty sure
never mind. This is plastic.
It's plastic. No, we don't want plastic. It'll be made out of bamboo.
There you go. Okay. Yeah, that won't catch on fire or anything.
Probably not. But when we talk about the physical money, one literal dollar bill or $100, doesn't matter what the denomination is, weighs about 1 gram.
Okay.
So if you have 454 bills stacked on top of each other, that equals 1 pound.
454 bills.
Yeah. So it's $451 or, if you just use a single dollar.
Yeah.
The typical lifespan of a dollar bill is 18 months before it goes into destruction mode.
The shredder. Yeah.
Right. So, and for each denomination above that, it's a little bit longer time period because we use dollar bills more often. Yeah. And so that was interesting to me.
It's all the candy and soda machines. They just eat those things up.
Yes. I saw something about that too. Like, the average, I don't know where I saw this statistic, but something about the average amount U.S. individuals put into snack and soda machines. And it was something like $270 or something like that. It was crazy.
Oh,
Yeah, I'll have to see if I can
snacks.
find that again too. It's funny. But you know, money gets recycled when it gets worn out. I don't know if you knew that, but it gets shredded. And there is I know it goes to a lot of different places to deal with it, but there's a Delaware farm that literally mulches more than 4 tons worth of worn out US bills into compost daily.
Nice.
4 tons. Yeah.
Wow. So if you go to one of the printing places, I'm totally forgetting what they're
There's
called.
only 2. So the Federal Reserve has 2 places that do printing.
One's
one's in
2?
DC. Yes. One's in DC, and I don't remember where the other one was.
I know one's in Kansas because we went down there and visited.
Yeah.
Or Missouri or Kansas, one of those 2.
Yeah.
But if you actually, as a gift for going and taking the tour, they give you a bag of shredded money.
Oh, do you sit there and try to put them back together?
No, it's really shredded. It's really shredded. But it's fun to mess with people. And I actually opened my sister-in-law's gas cap. Not the gas cap, just the gas door.
Right.
Poured a bunch of cash in there. Shut the door. So the next time she went to fill up, she opened that door and money
just fell out of it.
Just fell. She had no idea what was going on. She's calling everybody she knows. There's shredded cash in my
what happened?
Door. It was a lot of fun. But so real quick, since you're sharing all these facts, can I share one with you real quick?
Yes.
One of my favorite things to do is, my wife and I work at the cafe at our church and stuff like that. So the kids are buying and, little things. And every once in a while I'll find one. But a dollar bill, when you look at the serial number, some of them have a star, just a beautiful little tiny star right after it or right before it. I can't remember. If it has that star, that means that is a reissuance of that serial number. So in other words, the original dollar that had that serial number was shredded. It was destroyed. So they reissued that, printed that specific bill with that specific number again. And so if the star is on there, that's
I'm going to look at that. I've never seen that, but I'm just thinking that's a lot of data points to keep track of.
Right.
Yeah. And are they really keeping track of it that well? I don't.
And at this point, how much does that add to the cost of making a dollar if you have to reprint one? Anyway.
Yeah, that's interesting. Very interesting. Thank you for sharing, Eric.
Yeah.
Let's see. What else? Money is dirty. We know it's filthy.
Yeah.
Wash your hands anytime you use cash. That's why people weren't taking cash during the height of the pandemic. They don't want to take cash. Yeah. Here's another really fun, interesting fact. Fun fact. I think it's a fact. The creation of the Secret Service was originally to fight counterfeiting.
I knew that.
Did you?
I knew that one, yes.
I didn't know that.
When you have counterfeiting now, you still have to call the Secret Service about it.
Oh, interesting.
They're still involved. Yeah.
Have you called them?
Not lately. No. No, but here's another fun fact. See, I like money.
Yeah.
You can actually talk to the mint. I think it's the mint, right? The printer.
Yeah.
You can actually go to the mint on their website and get sheets of money, like sheets of money before they're cut.
Yeah.
So
that are not correct.
No,
probably.
They're correct.
They are.
They're correct.
You can get them?
Yes, you can. You can purchase them, right? So what I wanted to do, and I never did it, I wanted to get a full sheet of like $20 bills and wrap my kid's present in it for Christmas one year and just say, hey, take it easy with the wrapping paper and let them know it's real money. And there's a gentleman that I was following, I was listening to, that he would get sheets of $2 bills.
Yeah.
And he would also, he was getting sheets of $5 bills, and he'd go to like Burger King, and at the window, he'd cut out the $5 bills to give them. And they did call the police. The police did show up. They did have to call the Secret Service because they thought he was counterfeiting money and just printing it, cutting it out and using it. So I don't,
my God.
I don't advocate that, but that's actually happened because you could buy sheets of money.
That's crazy. Yeah. I love it. I love it when people do stuff like that. Okay. I'm going to skip a couple of things here and move on. Do you know how many federal tax brackets there are in the U.S.?
Is it 5?
And what they are? There are 6.
6.
10%, 15%, 25, 28, 33, and 35.
Oh, I thought there was a 12, so I'm way off.
Yeah, this is the most recent numbers that I could find, but we can keep, again, like you can find various things that are close, but not quite the same all over the internet.
And they change things all the time. I mean,
yes.
Yeah, we've talked about this.
Right. And since I didn't call up the IRS to get that statistic, I'm relying on other data sources. So, and I think most people don't realize this, that tax brackets are, everyone, no matter how wealthy you are, you pay 10% in taxes on the first, I think it was $8,900 or $8,700. And then it goes up to the next higher tax brackets in much bigger increments than $9,000. So everyone pays that, and then it's a scale.
Yep.
That's interesting. Surprising facts or not so surprising. Family income shows that there is a huge difference in the financial security between white and Asian Americans and Black and Hispanic families, Americans.
Yeah. Not surprising, like you said.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely not a surprising fact. So white and Asian Americans are significantly more likely to report family incomes that are six figures, 100,000 and more. And 43% of Black adults and 40% of Hispanic adults had a family income below 25,000. Huge disparity.
Yeah.
I'm going to talk about some personal finance facts now. 28% of families actually have a long-term financial plan, but that's only 28%. It's pretty low, which, of course, leads to this. The financial state of 55% of people is described, shall we say, as coping.
Okay.
They're just basically getting by.
Just getting by, yeah.
Right. Yeah. And 31% of people are considered, according to some categories, are financially healthy. So 31%, only 31% are financially healthy. 66% are not optimistic about their personal finances.
It's a bad place to be.
It is. And when you think 2/3 of Americans are just not optimistic about it, it means they honestly just don't have a lot of hope in terms of where it would go from there. Let's see. Oh, again, with that 66%, only 60% of Americans have a 3-month emergency fund. I ask my clients every time they would come in.
What percentage?
60%. Which 60% I think
have one?
Yes.
Wow, that's surprising to me.
I know. And I was thinking, because I ask my clients all the time when they would come in, and very few of them had a 3-month emergency fund. So I don't know that specific fact is actually correct, because I would think that it would be the opposite.
Yeah, I would say like 30%. So
yeah.
flip-flop.
Yeah.
Huh. Interesting. Well, maybe it's better than we thought.
Right. Well, about 20% of people said they couldn't get through 3 months of income loss with any means. And then another, 15-ish% said they could borrow money if they needed to. Yeah. But, it's still a significant number of people who are not going to get by if they have an emergency.
Yeah.
And don't have that fund. Yeah. And this I saw in multiple places. For some families, baby-related expenses take up 25% of their income, up to 25%. Babies are expensive.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you're talking all the expenses, daycare included, that's huge.
Oh my gosh. Daycare costs have gone up so much since I had my kids in daycare.
Yeah.
Now, they're 31 and 32, but I can't believe the price that some people have to pay for daycare.
Yeah.
I don't know why some people work. I mean, we're talking $800 to $1,000 a month, I think, is average.
Oh, easily. Yeah.
Yeah.
Depending on the age of the child. I mean, I know one of our friends was paying almost close to $300 a week, for a newer born child. Like they went right back to work. So it was probably 2 months old when they.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
crazy.
That's a lot.
It is a lot. It's a lot of money out of your pocket. Here's something else that's kind of stressful, shall we say. In terms of personal finance and stress levels, because money is stressful to
Mhm.
people. 87% of Americans are stressed out about inflation.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know how they couldn't be stressed out by it, because we in our house were just discussing the increased cost of groceries over the last 6 months.
Yeah.
And it's crazy what we've increased our grocery spending. I've basically almost doubled our allocation in our budget to that, which is tough because it takes away from saving money or any of those
Mhm.
other things that you want to create, like your 3-month emergency fund. Let's see what
Yeah. Do I
else
add
is
to my retirement account, or do I buy eggs?
right.
Right. I mean, those are the choices we have, kind of, in a lot
Right.
of ways. So,
Yeah. I mean, you remember the days of 99-cent eggs?
oh yeah,
And
yeah.
now they're at least $4 a carton in most cases, unless they're on sale.
Yeah, I was joking with the team on a team meeting last week that, I'm not claiming to be independently wealthy, but I will tell you that we bought a box of 5 dozen eggs the other day, which is fantastic.
Ooh, yeah,
But it costs us
that's
20 some odd dollars. And it's like, used to be around 11 or 12, for the full case. But
right.
yeah,
It's a lot. And if you really look at that, you think, oh my God, how do some people get through this? 61% actually of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck, which goes back to that. How
exactly.
do 60% of Americans have an emergency fund? I don't think that's correct.
I don't think it's correct either.
Yeah.
I think this statistics is much more accurate. 61%.
Yeah. 61% live paycheck to paycheck. Yeah. And 42% of people who earn 6 figures are also living paycheck to paycheck. So it's not just the $25,000 household income. It's those with 100,000 and more.
Wow.
42% are living paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah.
And on top of that, 36% of income earners, 36% who earn more than $250,000 annually are living paycheck to paycheck. 1/3 of what we would call the very upper middle class.
How many
families.
eggs are they buying? Because
I don't know.
It's got to be the area that they live in, right? I mean, like California, you could be earning $250,000 or $300,000. That is not a lot. I mean, you're
not a lot.
Housing costs is, the gas costs, and all that stuff.
Right.
Is
much
higher. But
if depending on the house you have, for example, in the San Francisco area, you could be paying $4,000 to $8,000 a month just on your mortgage.
That's ridiculous.
Right.
Crazy.
So of course you're going to live paycheck to paycheck.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's interesting just reading about the stress levels of people around finance. You and I have talked about that before, and, it's crazy. So the American Psychological Association showed that, of course, money-related stress in 2022 was at its highest point that it's been for a very long time, probably since the 1930s, early 1930s would be my guess. Personal finance statistics show us that it's across all age groups that are stressed about this, but 80% who are younger than 43 are deeply concerned about money and are financially stressed. So our youth get pushing to half of them are very stressed about money. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. And do you have any more fun statistics? I don't know how many I just mentioned, but I'm sure it's more than 23.
Yeah, there's a ton. But just touching on what you just said is that the problem that I see, and it's like perpetual almost. You learn your money behaviors from your parents usually, right? Or people in your life that you've seen deal with money, which is the first ones are usually the parents.
Right, which we talked about that. We talked about money messages.
Yes, money messages.
In a
perfect.
podcast.
Yes,
yeah.
Exactly. What money messages are these kids getting now? Because with all the inflation, with COVID, with all the concerns and worries, and the influx of COVID money, right? So people got checks just sent to them, and some families socked it away for a rainy day. Some families went out and bought a bunch of stuff, and hey, my kids are feeling really bad, so we're going to buy some fun things. Right. And all of a sudden there's just free money. That's one message. But then a year later, jobs aren't going well, inflation is high, and now the parents are stressed. And what does that tell those kids, and how are they growing up with those money messages, and what are they turning into if they're not being truly knowledgeable about how money works and best ways to save. And
Eric, I think that's
a
really great question. And I would guess that each generation grows up with different types of money messages and money stresses, because every situation is different. Like the economy is different now than it was 30 years ago.
Yeah.
So absolutely. I just think about when my kids were entering their teen years, not quite teen years. They were late, 9 or 10, maybe. Income was easy for them. I mean, for me, it was easy, and they were getting all the things that they needed all the time. And it wasn't a worry for them. But on that note, my kids were not interested in a lot of things like game consoles and all of that. Yeah. So I wasn't spending lots of money on that, but their perspective of finance is very different than people even 20 years after them.
Yeah. So. And I'm so thankful. You and I've talked about this off air and maybe even on air, but I grew up in a household, we didn't have a lot of money at all. Yeah. And when we did get little things, it was nothing compared to what my friends got or other people at school got. And so I always kind of grew up thinking, man, money's always tight. And it wasn't necessarily a bad money message. What I'm very thankful for is that my parents, they concentrated, my father specifically because of his work, he was working at Boeing, concentrated on his retirement. He retired from the Air Force after 20 years, and then he went to work for Boeing. So he was pouring into his retirement. He's 83 now. My mom's 73 now. They're on a, quote unquote fixed income, but they've never had to get assistance from us. We're more than happy to assist them, but they set themselves up well for a long-term retirement by being more frugal, by being more conservative with their money when I was a kid. And I saw it as, well, I don't get the good genes. I get the ones from Sears with, the tough skins. They're called, I believe they're made of burlap, if I'm not mistaken. That's how they felt.
Yes, they were very stiff.
They were very stiff, yeah. But the thing is that, I learned a valuable lesson. He made sure that he was able to take care of himself and his wife and wouldn't need to rely on his children.
Yeah.
Right. And that's a beautiful thing, I think. And I'm hoping that more people can see that and that can come to fruition for folks.
Right. And, people want to feel comfortable in their retirement, and that's perfect. So all of these stressors, all of these fun little facts, and some were fun, some were serious, but what do you do, right? What do you do when you think about that? You call Horizon Sustainable Financial Services, and they're going to help you reduce your stress. They'll help you with your financial needs. They'll help you with your asset management, doing financial plans, because everyone needs that. So please call Johan at 505-982-9661 or email info@horizonssfs.com. And that goes to everyone on the team. So we'd all like to help you.
Well, and I would encourage any, member of the government, Congress, Senate, President, Vice President, whoever you are, call Johan, because he's brilliant. And honestly, he's a lot smarter than y'all. I'm just going to say that. That's just Eric's opinion, but he's much smarter than the people that I'm addressing, because as we've been talking, Kim, I'm looking at the clock. While you've been listening to this podcast, listener, the national debt has increased by $38 million. So somebody needs to call Johan and get this stuff figured out.
Yeah. Oh my God. I would love it if Johan could solve all of the money problems that we have. Yes, but he can help you with a lot of them.
Yeah, I think he'd rather work with individuals. 38 million during this podcast.
In half an hour. Yeah.
And by the time we actually hit the stop button, it'll be about 39.5 or 40 million. Oh, That's fun.
Yeah. So I don't know if you have anything else to add. I just want to talk about our next guest. Yeah. I'm going to have a guest on the next podcast. Will be Samuel Adams.
Okay.
It's a great name, right?
I've known Sam Adams, just maybe not this one.
Yeah, well, it's probably not true. Sam has a business called Vert Asset Management, and recently he had an article in the newspaper or in a trade publication that I thought was phenomenal and that my listeners should hear about. So I'm not going to tell you what it is yet. It's just a little sneak peek.
Okay, we'll look forward to it, Kim. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Eric.
You bet. And of course, our last thank you always goes to you, the listening audience. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening to the Deep Impact Investing Podcast with Kimberly Griego-Kiel. If you have not subscribed to the podcast yet, please click the subscribe now button below. This way, when Kim comes out with a new podcast, it'll show up directly on your listening device. And we humbly ask that you share this podcast, rate it, and leave a review, as this does help others find the show. Again, thank you so much for listening today. For everyone at Horizon Sustainable Financial Services, this is Eric Johnson reminding you to live your best day every day. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to Deep Impact Investing with Kimberly Griego-Kiel, the sustainable, responsible impact investing podcast, reminding you that it's time to invest like you give a damn. If you have questions about this podcast or topics you'd like to hear addressed on an upcoming podcast, please email me at kim@griego-kiel.com. That's GRIEGO-KIEL.com. Or give Horizons a call at 505-982-9661 and be sure to ask for Johan Clausen. Don't forget to click the subscribe button to be notified when new episodes become available, and to share this podcast with colleagues, friends, and family. The companies I may speak about during the podcast are not recommendations for investment. Only you and your financial advisor can determine what the right investments are for you. Kimberly Griego-Kiel produces this podcast on behalf of Horizon Sustainable Financial Services. Horizon Sustainable Financial Services, Inc. is a registered investment advisor registered with the SEC. Horizon Sustainable Financial Services, Inc. and its financial professionals do not render tax or legal advice. The information covered and posted represents the views and opinions of the host and/or guests and does not necessarily represent the views and opinions of Horizon Sustainable Financial Services, Inc. This content has been made available for informational and educational purposes only. This content is not intended to be a substitute for professional investing advice. Always seek the advice of your financial advisor or other qualified financial service providers with any questions you may have regarding your investment planning. None of this content may be used or duplicated without the express written agreement of the podcast host.